The market was loud, full of voices, smells, and strange colors. Creatures from many planets walked around selling food, tools, and clothes. Some shouted prices, some argued about money, others laughed as they traded. In the middle of all this noise, a sharp cry broke the air. "Give my mom a coin, she'll clean your toilet," shouted a small alien child. His voice was high, shaking, but it was also full of courage. The words made people stop and turn. Some looked surprised. Others started to laugh. A few pointed at the boy, mocking him as if he was entertainment. The boy was thin, his clothes torn and dirty. His eyes were too big for his face, and his skin was pale from hunger. He stood with his little fists clenched, shouting again, "Please, a coin. My mom will work. She will clean." Beside him, a woman lowered her head. She was his mother. Her back was bent, her hair messy, and her hands looked tired and weak. She pulled the boy's arm softly, whispering, "Stop. Please stop." But the boy did not stop. He stood on, his toes shouting louder, "She will scrub your floor, wash your walls, anything. Just give her a coin." The crowd broke into cruel laughter. One alien with long horns sneered, "A coin? For her? She looks like she can barely stand." Another added, "Maybe she should clean the trash, that's where she belongs." The mother closed her eyes as if the words were knives cutting her heart. The boy's voice cracked, but he still shouted, "She can work. She is strong. Please help us." His small body shook, his voice echoed again and again, but no one stepped forward. Instead, people pushed past them. Some threw old food at their feet, not out of kindness, but to mock them. The boy's mother knelt to pick it up, ashamed, while the boy glared at the laughing crowd with tears in his eyes. In that moment, a tall figure stepped out from the crowd. He was different. His skin was not like the others. His clothes were simple but strong. His eyes were calm yet sharp. He was human. The crowd fell into silence for a moment. Many aliens did not trust humans. Some feared them, others hated them. But everyone watched as the human walked slowly toward the child and his mother. The boy looked up, his eyes wet, his lips trembling. "Sir, please. A coin," he whispered. This time his voice was soft, almost broken, as if he no longer believed anyone would listen. The mother tried to pull her son back. She bowed her head, saying, "Forgive him. He does not know what he says. We will leave." Her voice was low, full of shame. She wanted to disappear, but the human stopped in front of them. His shadow fell over the child. The boy blinked, waiting for more cruel laughter. Instead, the human reached into his pocket. His hand came out with a small, shining coin. The market gasped. The human knelt down to the boy's level and placed the coin in his small hand. He looked the boy in the eyes and said, "Yes." The boy froze, staring at the coin as if it was a dream. His fingers closed around it, shaking. He looked at his mother, then back at the human. You mean it?" he asked. His voice was full of disbelief. The human gave a small nod, his face serious, not mocking. He said quietly, "Your mother will not beg again." The crowd started to whisper. Some were angry, some confused, some even jealous. Why would a human waste money on them? Someone muttered. "They are nothing," said another. "He will regret this," said a third. But the human ignored them. The mother's hands trembled. She looked at the human with wide eyes, tears gathering. Why would you?" she began, but the words caught in her throat. She could not understand. The boy suddenly dropped to his knees, holding the coin close to his chest. He whispered, "Thank you, thank you." His small shoulders shook, his voice cracked, but this time it was not from desperation. It was from hope. The human stood tall, his voice steady. "Come with me," he said. The market grew quiet again. Everyone's eyes followed them as the human turned and began to walk. The boy quickly grabbed his mother's hand. Pulling her along, she stumbled, still in shock, but followed. Behind them, the laughter had stopped. Whispers filled the air. No one understood why a human would care. No one believed it would end well. Yet for the first time, the child and his mother walked with someone who had said yes. And with that one coin, their lives had already begun to change. The street was quiet as the human led the alien mother and her son away from the noisy market. The crowd's whispers still floated in the air behind them, but none dared to follow. The boy held the coin tightly in his small hand as if it was the most precious thing in the galaxy. His eyes were wide, and his breath came in short gasps. He could not believe this was real. The mother walked slowly, almost dragging her feet. Her heart pounded in her chest. She kept her head low, afraid of what people might say or do. She whispered, "We should not go with him. It is dangerous, humans are not like us." But her son squeezed her hand and said, "He said yes, Mama, he said yes." The human did not speak much. He walked with steady steps, guiding them through narrow streets and broken alleys. His face showed no smile, but his eyes held a strange light. It was not pity. It was something deeper. Finally, they reached a small home at the edge of the city. The house was simple, built of stone and wood, but it stood strong against the wind. The human pushed the door open and stepped aside. "Come in," he said. The boy rushed inside first. His stomach growled at the smell of food drifting from the table. For a moment he forgot his fear. He ran to the wooden chair, staring at the bread, the soup, and the jug of water. His mother stopped at the doorway, trembling. We cannot. We don't deserve this," she whispered. The human looked at her, his voice calm but firm. "Sit. Eat." The mother hesitated. Her pride fought against her hunger. For years she had begged, but she hated herself for every moment. Yet the boy's eyes shone with desperate hope. His hands shook as he reached for the bread. She could not say no. She slowly walked inside, guiding her son to sit. The human placed the food in front of them. The boy grabbed a piece of bread and bit into it. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he chewed. He had forgotten what real food tasted like. His mother touched the bowl of soup gently, her hands trembling. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. The human sat across from them, his voice low. "Because no one else did." The boy ate hungrily, not caring about manners. He looked up at the human with wide eyes. "We don't have to sleep in the streets tonight?" he asked. The human shook his head. "Not tonight." The mother's lips quivered. She whispered, "You gave us a coin, you gave us food, but what do you want in return?" Suspense filled her voice. In her world, no one gave something for nothing. She feared the price would be too high. The human leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving hers. "I want nothing," he said. The words shocked her. She almost dropped the spoon. "Nothing?" she repeated. Her mind could not understand. No one ever helped without a hidden reason. The boy looked at the human with awe. His small voice whispered, "He means it, Mama." But deep inside, the mother could not believe. She thought maybe tomorrow he would send them away, or maybe he wanted something he had not said yet. She stayed silent, but her heart carried fear. After the meal, the boy curled up in a corner, falling asleep quickly. His chest rose and fell in soft breaths. For the first time in many nights, he slept without shivering from cold. The human placed a blanket over him. The mother watched, confused, her eyes filled with tears again. She whispered, "You will regret this. People will mock you. They already laugh at us. They will laugh at you too." The human's voice was steady. "Let them laugh." The mother's breath caught. She sat down slowly, staring at him. "You don't know what we are. We are nothing. We are less than dirt in their eyes." The human leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "You are not nothing, and your child is not dirt. He is brave. Braver than all of them." Her lips parted, but no words came. No one had ever said such things to her. She had heard only insults, only cruel names. For a moment, she almost believed him. Outside, the wind blew against the windows, carrying faint voices from the city. The world was still cruel, but inside that small house, something was different. A coin had been given, food had been shared, and hope had begun to bloom. The boy stirred in his sleep, murmuring softly, "Mama," he said yes. The mother touched her son's cheek gently, her eyes still wet. She looked at the human and whispered, "I don't know who you are, but tonight, you gave my child a reason to smile." The human stood and walked to the door, looking out into the dark street. His hand rested on the frame, his voice quiet but firm. "Tomorrow will be harder. People will come. They won't like this. But I won't turn away." Suspense filled the air. The mother froze, her heart racing. She knew he was right. She knew the world would not allow such kindness without punishment. And yet, for the first time, she hoped. The coin was small, but it had opened a door. It was not just metal. It was a promise. A human had said, yes, when the whole world had said no. And in that moment, their story had only just begun. The boy woke up to the smell of food. His eyes opened slowly, blinking against the soft light coming from a small lamp on the wooden table. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. He had gone to sleep with a full stomach for the first time in many days. Now the smell of warm soup drifted in the air again. His small hands rubbed his face as he sat up. He looked around, confused. His mother was awake, sitting quietly in the corner, her eyes still heavy with doubt. She did not touch the food. She only watched the human who was placing more bread and a pot of soup on the table. The boy whispered, "Mama, is this real?" His voice was soft, afraid the dream might vanish. His mother did not answer. Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe, but she could not. Not yet. The human turned, his face calm. He spoke in a steady voice. "Sit. Eat again. You need strength." The boy's stomach growled loudly. He hurried to the table, his eyes fixed on the bread. He reached out, but then stopped. His small fingers curled back. He looked at the human. "May I?" he asked shyly. The human nodded once. "It is yours." The boy grabbed the bread quickly, breaking it in half. He stuffed a piece into his mouth, chewing so fast that crumbs spilled down his chin. His mother moved forward, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. "Slowly," she whispered. "Don't choke." Her own stomach twisted in hunger. The smell of soup made her mouth water, but she pulled her hand back. She shook her head. "I will wait. Let him eat." The human poured the soup into 2 bowls and slid one toward her. "No, you eat too," he said firmly. She shook her head again. "I don't deserve." The human's voice cut through her words, calm but commanding. "Deserve has nothing to do with it. Eat." Her eyes filled with tears, she picked up the spoon slowly. Her hands trembling, she took a sip, and warmth spread through her body. It had been so long since she had tasted real food. She covered her mouth, ashamed as tears slipped down her cheeks. The boy looked at her, smiling through his own bites. "See, Mama, it's good." The human watched them quietly. His face gave away little, but his eyes softened. He saw the boy licking his fingers, the mother wiping her eyes as she ate, and for a moment, the silence in the small house felt heavy but peaceful. When the bowls were empty, the boy leaned back in the chair, his stomach finally full. He let out a small sigh, almost like a purr. His eyes began to close, but he fought to stay awake. He wanted this moment to last forever. The mother placed her spoon down carefully, as if afraid she might break it. She looked at the human with tired eyes. Why are you doing this?" she asked again. Her voice was rough from years of silence and shame. The human leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. "Because your son shouted in the market, because he had courage when no one else did." Her breath caught. She stared at her son, who now leaned against her side, half asleep. She stroked his hair gently. "He is just a child," she whispered. The human shook his head. "No, he is more than that. He has fire inside him. Fire the others could not kill, not with hunger, not with shame." The mother lowered her gaze. Her heart ached. She had tried so hard to protect him, but all she had given him was suffering. Now a stranger was giving him hope. She whispered, "They will not allow this. If they see us here, They will come. They will say we are filth. They will take him away. The human's voice was steady. Then let them try. Her eyes widened. She had never heard such words spoken with such calm strength. She whispered, "You don't know how cruel they can be." The human's gaze did not move. "I have seen cruelty before. It does not scare me." The boy stirred, murmuring softly in his sleep. His little hand clutched the coin tightly even now. His lips moved, whispering. He said yes. He said yes. The mother felt her chest tighten. She kissed the boy's forehead, then looked at the human again. "If you stand with us, you will suffer too." The human leaned back, his face in shadow from the lamp's light. His voice was calm, almost quiet. "Sometimes it is better to suffer for the right reason than to live safe for the wrong one." The words struck her like lightning. She pressed her hand to her chest, her eyes burning with tears she could not stop. For years, she had heard only words that crushed her, but now one human spoke words that lifted her. Outside, footsteps echoed faintly in the night. The mother froze, clutching her son closer. The human stood slowly, his hand resting on the wooden door. He glanced back at her. "Sleep. Eat more. Tomorrow I will deal with whoever comes," the mother wanted to protest. But her voice failed. She held her son tighter, listening to his small breaths, and for the first time in many years she dared to feel hope. The human stepped outside into the cool night air, his eyes scanning the shadows. He knew the markets. Whispers would not stay whispers for long. Soon there would be anger, questions, maybe worse. But he had already made his choice. Inside the small home, the boy slept with a smile, the coin still in his hand. His mother sat by his side, her heart torn between fear and something new, something fragile, something she had almost forgotten. Faith, and so with the first meal, their journey together had truly begun. The night was deep and silent. The boy slept peacefully on a small mat near the corner. His chest rose and fell with soft breaths. His tiny hand still held the coin tightly. Even in his dreams, the human sat near the door, his back against the wall, his eyes half closed but awake. He listened to the wind outside, waiting for danger that might come. The mother sat on the floor, her knees pulled close to her chest. She could not sleep. The warmth of food still lingered in her stomach, but her heart felt heavy. She kept glancing at the human, wondering why he helped, what he truly wanted. She whispered softly, almost to herself. "Why?" The human turned his head slightly, his voice calm. "Why what?" Her lips trembled. She lowered her eyes. "Why us? You gave us food, shelter, kindness. For what reason?" The human's face stayed serious. "Because I could." She shook her head. "No. No one helps without a reason. No one risks their peace for strangers." The human leaned forward a little, his voice quiet but strong. "You are not strangers. Anymore you are under my roof. That is enough." Her chest tightened. She felt her throat burn. She wanted to believe him, but shadows of her past rose again. She whispered, "If you knew the truth, you might not help us." The human studied her face, his eyes steady. "Then tell me the truth." Her breath caught, her hands twisted together nervously. For years, she had kept her past buried. For years, she had carried shame like a heavy stone. Now, in this quiet night with her son asleep and this human watching her, the weight pressed harder. She whispered, "We had a family once, my mate. My parents. A small home." Her voice cracked. She closed her eyes and continued. "But they wanted me to sell myself. They said it was the only way to survive. They said I should give my body to traders and soldiers for coins." The human's jaw tightened. His fists curled slightly, but he did not speak. He let her continue. She looked down at her hands, her voice breaking. "I refused. I told them no. I said I would never do that. Not while I had a child. Not while I had dignity." Tears slid down her cheeks. "For that, they cast me out. They called me useless. They said I was a burden. They left me with nothing." The human's breath was slow, but his eyes burned with quiet anger. She continued, her words heavy. I begged in the streets, I cleaned scraps for a coin, my son shouted in markets, but no one listened. They called him dirt, they spat at him and me. They laughed at me. They said a mother with pride cannot survive. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing quietly. The boy stirred in his sleep but did not wake. The human remained still, his face like stone. After a moment, the mother lifted, her head, her eyes swollen. Now you see, I am nothing, I am broken. You should not waste your coin or food on us. We will only bring you shame. The human leaned forward, his voice steady. You are wrong. She froze, her breath shaking. She stared at him, confused. The human's eyes locked onto hers. You are not broken. You chose dignity when they offered you chains. That is not weakness. That is strength. Her lips parted, but no sound came. No one had ever called her strong before. Only weak, worthless, filthy. The human's voice grew firmer. Your son is alive because you fought for him, even when the world turned its back. Even when hunger clawed at you, you did not give up. That is not shame, that is courage. Her tears fell harder. Her chest shook. She pressed her hand against her mouth to stop the sobs. The weight inside her heart began to crack. The human leaned back, his eyes still sharp. They abandoned you, but I will not remember that. The mother's body shook as she whispered, Why? Why would you fight for us when no one else would? The human looked toward the sleeping boy, his voice quiet. Because he deserves a chance to grow without chains, and because you deserve to be seen as more than dirt. The mother covered her face again. Her heart broke and healed at the same time. She whispered through her sobs, You will suffer if you stand with us. They will come for you. They will call you a fool. The human closed his eyes for a moment, his voice calm but filled with iron. Let them come. The room fell silent except for the boy's steady breathing. The mother stared at the human, her tears slowly drying. For the first time in many years, she felt a spark of light in her chest. She whispered softly, Thank you. Her voice was weak, but her eyes carried something new. Not shame, not fear, but hope. The human did not reply. He only sat back against the wall, keeping watch. His hand rested on the hilt of a knife at his belt, his eyes scanning the shadows outside the door. He knew the night was not safe, but inside this small house, a battle had already been won. The mother lay beside her son, wrapping her arms around him. She kissed his forehead gently, whispering, Sleep, my brave one, tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow will be different. And as the night stretched on, the secret she had carried for years no longer weighed only on her. It had been shared, and in that sharing she felt lighter. The human sat in silence, guarding them, waiting for the storm he knew would come. The next morning the sun rose slowly, painting the small city in pale light. The boy woke first, stretching and rubbing his eyes. His stomach felt full, a strange but wonderful feeling. He smiled sleepily, clutching the coin in his little hand. His mother woke soon after, her body still sore but her heart lighter than the night before. She looked at her son and whispered, At least today you smile. The human stepped outside, carrying a small bucket of water. He poured it into the garden beside the house. The soil was dry, the plants weak, but they still grew. He knelt to tend them, his movements calm and steady. The boy ran to him, curious. Can I help? He asked. The human nodded, handing him a small tool. Dig here gently, he said. The boy grinned, kneeling in the dirt, his hands finally working at something other than begging. The mother watched from the doorway, unsure. She felt strange standing there with nothing to do. Slowly, she stepped forward and began sweeping the small yard with an old broom she found by the wall. Her movements were shaky at first, but she pressed on. It was not long before neighbors began to notice. They passed by the gate, whispering to each other. One tall alien with green skin sneered loudly. Look at that. The human keeps garbage in his house now. Another laughed. He feeds them. Next he will wash their feet. The mother froze, her hands gripping the broom tightly. Her heart pounded. Shame burned her cheeks. She wanted to drop the broom and run inside, but the human stood up, wiping his hands on a cloth. He looked at the neighbors and said calmly, "She works harder than any of you." The neighbors laughed louder. "Harder? She's filth. She should be thrown out, not given a garden to clean." Another pointed at the boy. "And that brat, he begged in the market like a dog. You shame yourself, human, for keeping them." The boy's smile vanished. He looked down, clutching the small tool tightly. His shoulders shook. His mother rushed forward, pulling him close. She whispered, "Don't listen. Don't listen." Her eyes filled with tears as she faced the ground, but the human's voice rose strong and steady. "Enough." The laughter stopped for a moment. The neighbors stared. The human stepped forward, his eyes sharp. "You mock her because she works. You mock him because he is brave. What do? Stand in the street and laugh? That is all your strength?" The neighbors grumbled, shifting uncomfortably, but one spat on the ground. "You will regret this, human. You will see what happens when you protect trash." They turned and walked away, their voices still mocking as they disappeared down the street. The mother sank to her knees, holding her son close. Her tears fell on his hair. I told you they will bring you shame," she whispered. Her voice shook with guilt. The human bent down, lifting her chin gently with his hand. His eyes were calm but firm. "Look at me," he said. She hesitated but slowly raised her eyes. He continued, "There is no shame in cleaning. There is no shame in being poor. The shame belongs to those who laugh." Her lips trembled. She whispered, "You don't understand. They will call the officials. They will take us away. They will punish you." The human's voice hardened. "Let them come. I will not send you away." The boy sniffled, pressing closer to his mother. "Mama, he's not afraid," he whispered. His little voice carried wonder. The mother closed her eyes, hugging her son tighter. She whispered back, "He is a fool, but a kind fool." The human stood tall, watching the street. He knew the neighbors. Words were not empty. He knew trouble would come. Yet he did not move with fear. His shoulders were straight, his steps steady. He returned to the garden, working as if nothing had happened. The boy slowly let go of his mother and walked back. To him he whispered, "Can I still help?" The human nodded, handing him another seed to plant. The boy smiled again, his small hands pressing the soil gently. The mother watched them, her heart heavy yet strangely warm. She picked up the broom once more. This time her hands did not shake. As much, she swept the yard with more strength, even as the words of the neighbors echoed in her head. Hours passed. The house became cleaner, the garden more alive. Yet the shadows of the neighbors' threats hung over them. That evening, as the boy sat by the fire with a full belly once more, he asked softly, "Will they come for us, Mama?" His voice trembled. His small eyes looked to her for answers. The mother held him close, not knowing what to say. Before she could speak, the human answered from across the room, his voice calm and strong. "If they come, they will find me here." First, the boy's eyes widened. He whispered, "You will protect us?" The human nodded once. "Yes." The boy smiled. Leaning into his mother's arms, his small voice whispered, "Then I am not afraid." The mother looked at the human, her eyes filled with tears. For so long she had been beaten down, mocked, called worthless, but now in this small house someone stood tall for her and her child. She whispered under her breath, almost too quiet to hear, Maybe we are not nothing after all." The next morning was quiet, but the silence felt heavy. The human worked in the garden, the boy played with stones in the dirt, and the mother scrubbed the floor of the small house. She tried to hide her fear, but her hands shook as she worked. She knew the neighbors' threats were not empty words. They would not forgive the human for sheltering her and her son. By midday, footsteps echoed in the street. Heavy, loud, and full of purpose, the boy froze, his small hands gripping the coin he never let go. The mother's heart sank. She whispered, "They have come." Through the gate stepped 3 officials, their uniforms dark, their eyes sharp and cold. Behind them stood some of the same neighbors who had mocked the day before. Their sneers were wide, their voices already whispering with cruel delight. One official stepped forward, his boots crunching on the dirt. His voice was cold. "Human, you are ordered to release the woman and her child. They do not belong here." The boy cried out, running to the human, clutching his leg. His voice shook. "Please don't let them take us." The mother pulled the boy close, bowing her head. "Please do not fight for us, we are nothing." Her voice was low and broken. Her shoulders trembled. She was ready to give up again, but the human placed a firm hand on her shoulder. His eyes burned with steady fire. "No," he said simply. The official frowned. "You dare defy the order? These creatures are outcasts, worthless. They cannot live under a human roof." The neighbors jeered. "Send her away, she brings shame." Another shouted, "She will drag you down, human. Don't throw away your dignity." The human stepped forward, placing himself between the officials and the mother. His voice rose, calm but strong. "You speak of dignity, but you have none. You laugh at hunger, you spit on a child, and you call that honor?" The officials scowled. "Enough, hand them over or we will force you." The boy clung tighter, his small voice crying, "Don't leave us, please." The mother's tears streamed down her face. She whispered to the human, "Let us go. Save yourself, they will punish you." The human's voice cut through the noise like steel. "I will not. You are under my roof and no one takes you from here." The crowd gasped. The neighbors murmured, angered and shocked. The officials stiffened, one placing his hand on the hilt of a weapon. "Do not challenge us, human. You cannot. Fight the law." The human stepped closer, his eyes hard. "Then your law is broken." A tense silence fell over the street. The mother covered her face, trembling. The boy looked up at the human with wide eyes full of fear and awe. Finally, the official snarled, "If you protect them, then their shame becomes yours. You will be judged with them." The human's jaw tightened. His voice rang out. "So be it." The words struck the crowd like thunder. Some gasped, others laughed cruelly. The officials exchanged glances, one muttering, "He has lost his mind." But none could deny the strength in his eyes. The boy tugged at the human's sleeve, whispering, "Why? Why would you risk this for us?" The human knelt, his voice soft but firm. "Because you are worth more than they will ever admit. Because your mother is not filth, she is brave, and because no one should grow up believing they are nothing." The boy's lips trembled. His eyes filled with tears, he whispered, "Then I will never forget." The officials straightened, their voices sharp. "Very well, human. You have made your choice. The court will hear of this. You will answer for your actions." With that, they turned and marched away. The neighbors followed, muttering and laughing. But their laughter carried unease, for the human had stood unshaken in front of them all. When the street was quiet again, the mother collapsed to her knees, her tears flowed, she whispered, "You are a fool, you will suffer because of us." The human helped her to her feet, his voice calm. "If suffering means protecting you, then it is not wasted." She looked at him with wide eyes. Her lips parted, but no words came. For years she had been told she was worthless, and now a stranger called her worthy. The boy held up the coin still clutched in his hand. "Mama," he said softly, "he gave us this. He gave us food, he gave us safety, and now he gave us dignity." His small smile broke through his tears. "We are not nothing anymore." The mother hugged her son tightly, her heart breaking and healing at once. She whispered, "Not nothing. Not nothing." The human stood tall, his eyes watching the distant street where the officials had gone. He knew this was only the beginning. He knew the trial would not be easy, but he also knew his choice was made no matter what came. He would not let them be taken. The next day the market was more crowded than usual. Word had spread quickly. Everyone whispered about the human who had defied the officials. Some laughed at his foolishness, others watched with uneasy eyes. But no one stayed silent. His act had shaken them. By afternoon the officials returned. This time they were not 3, but 10. Their boots struck the ground in unison, their voices sharp. Behind them trailed dozens of neighbors. curious strangers and merchants who had come to see the show. The human stood in front of his small house. His arms crossed, the boy clung to his side. The mother stood behind him, trembling but refusing to run. The officials spread out, their leader stepping forward. His voice rang loud. "Human, you have broken the law by giving shelter to outcasts. You shame this city. You must surrender them now." The crowd cheered. Some shouted insults. "Throw them out. Send her back to the dirt. The boy belongs in the gutter." The mother lowered her head, tears burning her eyes. She whispered, "Please don't do this for us. Save yourself." But the human raised his voice, strong and steady. "Enough." His word cut through the noise. The crowd grew quiet. His eyes swept over them, sharp and unafraid. "You call this shame? You mock a child for begging. You spit on a mother for surviving. But what have you done? Nothing but laugh at suffering." The official snarled, "Your words mean nothing. Pay the price or step aside." The human reached into his pocket. He pulled out a handful of coins. Their metal shone under the sun. He threw them to the ground. With a sharp clang, the sound echoed through the market. The crowd gasped. He shouted, his voice carrying over them all. "Here, take them, count every coin. Is this what you want? Silver more important than life? Then know this, she is worth more than all of this together." The mother gasped, her hands covering her mouth. Her knees grew weak. She whispered, Why would you say that?" Her eyes filled with tears. The officials stiffened, anger flashing in their eyes. But the crowd shifted uneasily. Some looked ashamed. Some avoided the human's burning gaze. The boy stepped forward, still holding the first coin the human had given him. His little hands shook, but his voice rose. "My mom is not trash. She is strong. She worked. She begged for me. And he said yes when you all said no." His small voice cracked, but the words rang clear. The crowd went silent. Faces turned. Eyes lowered. For the first time, shame crept among them. The officials barked, "Quiet, child, you are nothing." The human stepped forward, his shadow falling over the officials. His voice thundered, "He is not nothing. She is not nothing. You are wrong, all of you, and I will not move. If you want them, you must come through me." A deep silence filled the square. No one laughed now, no one mocked. The officials exchanged nervous glances. They had power, but they saw something in the human's eyes they could not crush. One neighbor whispered, "Why does he stand for them?" Another answered quietly, "Because someone had to." The leader of the officials clenched his fists. His voice trembled with anger. "You are a fool, human. They will drag you down. They will destroy you." The human raised his head, his voice calm but filled with steel. "If I fall for standing beside them, then I fall with dignity. Better that than live in your cowardice." The boy gripped his mother's hand tightly, whispering, "Mama, he is not afraid." Tears streamed down the mother's cheeks. Her voice broke as she whispered back, "No, he is not." She looked at the human, her heart filled with gratitude she could not express. For years she had carried shame, and now a human carried it with her and turned it into strength. The officials finally stepped back. Their leader spat on the ground. "This is not over. Human, the court will hear of this, you will answer." With that, they turned and marched away. The crowd slowly scattered, some muttering, some silent with guilt. When the square was empty, the mother fell to her knees. She covered her face, sobbing. The boy knelt beside her, holding her hand. His little voice whispered, "He saved us, Mama." The human bent down, lifting them gently, his voice calm. "No, I only reminded them that you are worth saving." The mother looked up at him, her tears still flowing. She whispered, "You gave us more than food, more than shelter. You gave us dignity. You gave us hope." The human's eyes softened, but his voice stayed steady. "Hope is not mine to give. You already had it. Your son carried it into the market when he shouted. I only answered." The boy smiled through his tears, gripping his coin tightly. "Then I will never stop shouting. Never again." The human placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, nodding, "Good, let the world hear you." The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the street. The mother stood tall, her tears drying. For the first time, she did not feel like dirt. She did not feel like nothing. She felt seen. And as the human led them back into the small house, the market's whispers faded behind them. In a galaxy that had laughed at their hunger, one human had said, "Yes." And that one word had changed everything.